I think there's been a lot of talk about cookie deprecation for way too long now, when we really do have the answers in our pocket. We know that identity data really matters, which is why at Publicis we have Epsilon, and that enables us to truly understand the connection between brand right the way through to transaction. There has been a resurgence, if you like, of MMM, but the reality with MMM is that we need to make it go faster.
And that's marketing mix modeling, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So based on regression analysis and understanding how we connect media to sales. The reality of that is, though, and we've been doing this for a while at Spark and at Publicis, is to evolve that model to ensure that it includes other brand metrics as well as things like consumer price index or shock factors like weather or COVID, or if you're in a franchisee model, understanding what does the experience feel like for a consumer in a particular store or a particular venue or restaurant, or wherever it may be. So all of those things need to come into that mix to understand that not only at a national but a local level. The other thing that we need to do is make things move faster. And we have got some tools at our disposal like ROI Modeler that enable us to do things at a much quicker pace. With the onset of AI, I say onset, it's been around for like 50, 60 years, but with more machine learning, with more AI, that enables us to do some of those calculations and computations much more quickly, which enables us to get to a better place. The one thing though with MMMs is that it is a look back window. And so what that can only tell you is what you've already done. And so as we think more about, as we try new channels, new approaches, new ways to get into audiences, MMM is not the one size fits all answer. It has a purpose, but there are other ways and methods to then measure and understand more quickly where you can launch and learn versus test and learn. So getting into market, see what happens, see the impact, and then understand quickly the impact of that on brand, emotional connection, and of course, transactions and sales.
So you're saying there's still a role for human intelligence, and even though we have all these advancements in AI?
Of course. I think that the reality is that with AI, there's a lot of fear out there, but the reality is that AI is going to help us do the things that we don't want to do as much of, much more quickly and potentially much more accurately as well. So lots of manual typing of different codes and numbers and equations. This is something we can use that for. It also enables us to then scale it much more quickly. So yes, there is a need for a human understanding as well, because AI will get us part of the way there, but us humans are not as easy to read as we all think, right? So AI gets us there. It really does get us a part of the way there, but there is a need for human understanding, human behavior, and of course, importantly, how to understand and read those emotions as well.
Very well said, and I'm happy to hear that too, as a human. Anyway, I wanted to shift gears a little bit. Retail media, that's something that is a very high growth area. Retailers, they have a lot of data about their consumers. What kinds of things do you see going on, and how is the role of retail media going to change?
I think before we start with changing it, I think it's about how we organize it into the existing infrastructure. So something that we do at Spark and at Publicis right now is that we've brought retail media up front. So rather than thinking about a consumer and a shopper, we see the human that is both of those things. I'm a consumer, but I also shop. So understanding who I am, what I do, and how I transact enables us to understand better. So we pride ourselves in understanding those retail channels, the retail media networks at the beginning of the process rather than bolting it on at the end. And I think that's critical because there is a lot out there that we can now do to bring the two together. There's a lot more efficiency. And we were talking about measurement before, the way that we can bring that measurement together to see the holistic growth and the holistic consumer journey throughout the process as they become a shopper, transfer back to being a consumer and back again. Everybody talks about a funnel, but that's a way of thinking versus the way that consumers actually behave. It's more like a planetary system or a constant infinity loop of moving around the ecosystem to get to different places within that consumer journey.
Well, now I'm glad you brought that up, the purchase funnel, because I was wondering what the role is for retail media in terms of branding. We with retail media, we often hear about transactions and consumer goods and getting them into shopping carts. But I don't know, let's say cars, other kinds of products that, at least I haven't bought a car online yet or at Amazon. Maybe that's coming. But there must be a role for branding.
There absolutely is. And that's the reality, is that right now people think about retail media and they go straight to endemic. So CPG, things that you can actually buy in store, versus thinking about it from a broader perspective. So I like to think about retail media as a mindset versus a particular narrow channel. So if you think about when you're going to a supermarket, for example, yes, there are things that you might buy on the way to the store. That you might start to you want to probe people and say, I want them to buy this type of shampoo, this type of cereal, this type of diaper, for example. However, there are the non-endemic areas where it gets really exciting. So, well, you just mentioned a car. Well, how are you getting to that store? Are you happy with your car right now? Is it something that you might want to change in the future? Are there different ways that we can probe you to divert off and look at a different area? Similarly, are you hungry on the way to the store? Never go shopping hungry, right? Maybe you're going to go to a QSR on the way, or on the way home to promise the kids on the way home as a reward for going shopping with you. There are many different ways to think about the retail media networks above and beyond it just being a transactional, pure play value. And I think by connecting that consumer journey holistically, end to end, you can start to think about those channels in different ways. And the same goes for all the other media touch points as well.
Well, finally, Lisa, this has been very informative. Looking ahead, is there anything that you're really excited about, or maybe worried about, perhaps?
Excited that we start to see a lot more bravery, I think, in the marketplace, where people are prepared to try to launch and learn new things versus dipping a toe with a tiny little bit of money and testing. I think there's a lot of opportunity to think about things differently. That excites me. AI excites me. Publicis has been there for a while now. We've had a Marcel for a while. Scary, I think scary for me is more thinking about when we try to, as an industry, not necessarily us, but as an industry, use old metrics to define new platforms, and it's about having to think a little bit more differently. So getting worried about all that stuff, and I'll be petrified if in another year's time we're still talking about cookie deprecation. We are very good about talking about the year of the mobile. I think we talked about that for 15 years. We've been talking about cookie deprecation for 5 years. I think action is key, and moving more quickly is something that is very important.